Okay, so for this video we are starting introducing our new video series, the Demlicans. I am Naveed Sayed, the owner and CEO of ExcitingAds.com, and this is
I'm William Patrick. I'm just a friend who enjoys having nice political banter and fodder with Naveed.
all right. So William, so what we are starting with?
We can start with a host of things. Particularly, I guess, one of the things that's hot off the presses is the resignation of Herman Cain.
All right.
As I was driving over here this afternoon, I was bombarded with the suspension of his candidacy. What do you think about that?
Well, Herman Cain, I think he was a good candidate, but he just got um, um, just the dirty Republican politics that he got.
Okay.
I think that's what it was.
I think our first stone was just thrown, and I must respond with brute force. I would think that this was probably more along the lines of how the Democrats like to character assassinate candidates in the Republican Party, and particularly when you have a candidate that looks a lot like, and meaning physically, ethnically, and color-wise as the current incumbent, it's very difficult for them to play the race card. So I really firmly believe this was more of the left destroying a guy who, in a lot of ways, was not a serious candidate. I mean, more promoting his book is what a lot of them are saying. But he did have the ability to connect with the American people, and they enjoyed hearing him speak about different things. His 999 plan was very eloquently laid out. Whether it worked tonight, who knows? But it got people's attention.
What's 99 plan? Even Herman Cain didn't know what's a 99 plan. What are you talking about?
Even if he didn't know the plan, he spoke of the plan.
What it is? I mean, I don't know what 99 is.
Oh, 999 was basically 9% tax on everything from federal tax, income tax, and I think a consumption tax is what my gathering of it what it was. Corporate pay 9%, individuals pay 9%, and your capital gains are 9%.
But don't you think that a 9% consumption tax would be too high?
It depends on what state you're in. If you live in a state that has high state income tax, excuse me, yes, it would. If you live in a state that has no income tax like Delaware, Nevada, or Florida, or Texas, it's not. You're not paying any. You're paying a lot less. But for people who live in Virginia or live in Maryland, you're anywhere from 13 to 15%, basically on the consumption tax.
And what about the low income people? I mean, if you are making $10,000 a year and you're paying 9% tax, won't that be a disaster?
It possibly could be, but we all know that people who make $10,000 a year don't pay any taxes anyway. I mean, and nobody has a problem paying taxes for their cigarettes, their alcohol, or their illegal drugs, or their nice little weapons that they purchase on the corner. So it's a way to capture a fairness of consumption. I mean, that's what they have in Europe. They call it a VAT tax.
No, the thing is that for the 9% tax on a person who has a very low income, this would be a really high tax. I mean, it's just or you are suggesting that very low income people will be exempt from the tax?
Well, in his revision of his 999 original plan, he did have provisions in there to exempt certain incomes and low income areas. So I would say yes, but realistically, I don't see anything wrong with anyone paying their fair share. If you consume, you pay taxes. If you're not a consumer, then you're not paying any
It
taxes.
just depends upon your definition of fair. People will have very different definitions of fair.
I would agree with you there. I would agree. But in my world of fairness, it means everyone has the ability to have access, participate, and consume at the same rate as anyone else. So in all actuality, even if they're paying the 9%, in some states, give an example, in Georgia, their state income tax is like 8.5%. So people pay that on whatever they do, with the exception of food. So in a lot of ways, a lot of people are already paying these taxes.
Isn't Georgia a predominantly Republican state?
Actually, it is not. It should be, but it's not.
I mean, how come they have such a high tax?
Well, they have a high tax because a lot of their taxes goes towards education. They have like their lottery is set up so that you can, if you are a resident of the state, you get a huge discount on your education. So it depends on the states and what they choose to do with their money in particular. But bottom line is, I don't see anything wrong with a consumer tax.
No, is that a valid excuse? I mean, I'm saying every government that taxes says that it's being used on you, your education, your utilities, your roads, your highways, your bridges, your police, your firefighters, stuff like that. So tax is always high tax or low tax. It's always you use. Actually, the government tells you that it's being used
Yeah.
on people. So. Uh, but I think high tax is high tax and low tax is low tax.
I would agree with you,
Okay.
100%. I think that it's very interesting. It'd be interesting to look at how the states who have no income tax versus the states that have a high income tax. I mean, New York is one of those states that has a high income tax, and then you look at Delaware, it has no state income tax at all. So it would be interesting if we would explore that to see how they equally distribute their funds and where they actually go to.
I mean, it's just I think that the taxes are just used by Republicans as a political excuse, and that's it. I mean, practically see in Virginia, for example, the new taxes and fines that they put on the traffic. I mean,
Mhm.
they are just insane. I mean,
I would agree.
it's just. I mean, it's just unbelievable that they win election with no taxes or low taxes, and then they come and they put just different labels on the taxes and start taxing people. You know.
But that's on both sides. I mean, whether the Democrats say they're working for the middle class or the Republicans say they're working for the middle class or they're working for the poor class, the reality is when it comes to taxation, it's used as a political billy club to uh, change the way people think about political parties. And we both know that on both parts. I mean, if you want to call it a sin tax for alcohol, tobacco, and other drugs, okay, that's a sin tax. It's still a tax.
It's still a tax.
Whatever you call it.
I
And in
totally agree.
Virginia, you have a property tax on your vehicles.
I know that's unbelievable.
Which is, but you're one of two that have that. I mean, I think the other Commonwealth is Kentucky that also has that same thing.
I think I mean it's unbelievable. I mean I have lived in New York and you live in Maryland and
Right.
you know that there are they are predominantly democratic states, but
Yeah.
they don't have a property tax on
They
on
don't,
vehicles.
but they have higher taxes on everything else. Also, they put a lot of their money, quote unquote, into social programs. They have a very heavy social obligation when it comes to our tax dollars. And that right there is probably one of the reasons that a lot of the states that have these big social programs are almost bankrupt or already bankrupt. And especially the ones that have a very large public workforce with pensions that are guaranteed. So no matter what the stock market does, if they lose money in the market, they automatically raise fares or raise taxes to meet those obligations of pensions. And we see that with the metro system right now that's happening in the DC area. I mean, look at Metro. Metro's saying, well, half of the money that they're going to increase the fares by is going to go directly to these pensions to public employees, where 80% of the public employees don't even pay into their own pension fund. Now, I have worked at places where I have to contribute to my 401k or my 403b. I'm sure you too. But if you work in the public sector, you don't have to do that. We'll just raise your taxes or raise the fares to make your pension payments. What happened to your pension fund, your 401k or 403b when it happened in 2008 or 2007 when the market crashed?
But the thing is that I personally have never believed in 401k.
I am with you. I think it's the biggest scam in the book.
I think it's a huge scam. My wife has a 401k. I have never had a 401k. I still don't have 401k. All my investments are just go to my own business, which I believe in, you know. So
My goodness, you sound more and more like a Republican there.